call the Beaufort County Board of Education agenda setting meeting of Monday, January 30, 2023 to order. The executive committee members are present, myself, Richard Geyer, and Angela Middleton. We have Alice Walton filling in for Dr. Rodriguez. Other board members participating or present today include Chloe Gordon and Carlton Dallas. And then we have also Wendy Cartledge as a participant of the senior administrative staff. So our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
We need a motion to approve the agenda from one of the committee members.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve today's agenda.
Thank you. So Dick, you're muted.
Try again. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next up is the approval of our committee meeting minutes first for January 9th, 2023. I'll let Robin display those.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the January 9th, 2023 agenda setting meeting minutes.
I second the motion.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next up are another set of committee meeting minutes. I believe it's
I need you
January
to slow down for a second. Let me catch up.
9th. We're on a roll.
Yes, you are. Okay, let me get rid of that. Move up to the second one. Here we go.
Yeah, these are also committee meeting minutes.
January 19th. Okay.
All right,
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the January 19th, 2023 committee meeting minutes.
I second the motion.
thank you. All right, I see a couple corrections. I just had a chance to look at them. Under action, please. It says it should be move discussion of public comments to end of agenda. So that's the second bullet point under action.
Oh.
So move now, put discussion of, and that should be, the discussion should be capitalized because we weren't talking about the people commenting, we were talking about our discussion of public comments.
Okay, I'll make the correction on that, but that's a PDF, so I can't make it right there in that. But I will
Okay.
make a correction. I will.
So
make a
that's
correction.
one,
Mhm.
just add discussion of before public comments. And then under the next action, you just need to take out one of the 30 commas. You
Okay,
got two of them there.
all
Okay,
right.
that's all I saw.
30, 2 30s. Yeah, move
Yeah.
down.
All right, with those changes, so we'll amend the motion. Can we have an amended motion with the changes?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Okay, and Miss
Second.
Middleton, second, okay. So all those in favor of the modified, approving the modified January 19, 2023 meeting minutes, please say aye.
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 All right, then those are approved with the changes. Now we'll go on to discussion of the February 7
Okay.
draft agenda.
And can you see them?
Yeah, they're not real big, but yes. Better, much better. Okay, so nothing up there at the top that's new or different. Can you go, yeah, all the way up to the top? All right, so this is in the media center. Right now, we have executive session at 4:30 and then public session at 6. Okay. Now, is the meeting being live streamed by the county channel? I think not. Since this is February meeting and they're stopping their contract on January 31. So what is it going to be live streamed at all?
I think for now it'll be on our YouTube channel.
Right now,
Can't hear you at all.
I'm
You're very
wait.
muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but I can't hear Molly. She sounds like really
But
muffled.
she wasn't trying for you all to hear her. She was giving me information. She was
Oh.
saying right now it's going to be on the YouTube channel.
So let's put that there then. And so being live streamed, and what's the YouTube? So you're gonna have to say something.
I'll put the information once we get it. I'll get
Perfect.
the information and put it on there.
Perfect. All right. And then the rest of those few paragraphs are the usual public comments. And,
Yeah.
and then in red, we'll reconvene the next evening at 6 if we haven't finished the agenda. Okay. Any other modifications to that top part, Angela or Dick?
No.
Okay. All right. So now we'll go to executive session, and Wendy is on the call with us. So we have our usual topics. Personal ratification report, the adult education homeschool report, and then we have, it looks like, some contracts we have to review.
Yes.
And
Right now
there's
you have 4 of them.
Okay. And I would like to add to the executive session an update from Mr. Regal on our pending claim.
Put him first.
And there's a possibility I might have a legal update, but it's still not determined yet.
Okay.
So there may be a new claim.
All right. So what would you say? You want to do the wording or do the wording afterwards, Wendy?
do the-
Yes, I'll take care of that. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll take care of that after the meeting, Robin, and send it to you.
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay.
So do you think, given what we have here, I don't know the extent of Robert's contracting information, is 4:30 appropriate?
I think so. Robert had said today in senior staff, he wasn't sure if all of those would be 100% definite. So we'll know later in the week, but
Okay.
today 4:30 would be fine.
All right.
And mine will be very brief, 5 minutes if I have one,
Okay.
my update.
Anything else, Dick or Angela?
No.
No.
Okay. So moving on. Our usual next items. Public session action is necessary or appropriate. Approval agenda, pledge of allegiance, moment of silence, statement of media notification, that all looks good. Now student performance is Will Branch Early College High School. And I assume, Robin, you'll fill that in with what exactly it is. And
Once I get the information, I'll put all that in there.
okay. So points of celebration, we're down to school counselor proclamation.
That's all we have as of today.
Okay. I think over the weekend, May River High School was
Yeah, they
came
won
in first at the World Quest
Quest competition.
competition. So I would assume we would like to recognize them and the students who participated.
We'll get the information.
Yeah, but okay, so you got the placeholder. Anything else from the committee members?
No.
No. All right. And the others that are on the call, just raise your electronic hand or your physical hand, and I will acknowledge you if you have something you'd like to say. All right. So then we have the first public comments.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Carlton.
I don't know when the appropriate time is, but, we got some letters, I think that was sent to all of the board members. One about a teacher resignation. Would that be discussed in the, executive session?
Normally, individual personnel matters like that are not discussed.
Mhm.
I did speak to Dr. Rodriguez today
Mhm.
to ask him if he had received it, because that would be something he would handle. And he
Okay.
said he had. So unless there's something unique, it would not be discussed even in an executive session at this time. Correct, Alice?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Because you are the appellate board in any grievance or termination. So the board actually stays out of any terminations or resignations, because it might eventually have to come back to you to sit as judge. So you should be not put in place of being biased.
Okay, so I guess the broader point or question is in Newport News, I grew up 90 miles due south of Newport News. And that young kid that shot that teacher is reverberating in Eastern Virginia and Eastern North Carolina. And that superintendent was terminated for failure to respond to issues. And my concern is whether or not what was included in that letter is systemic, and that the district could become liable. So I'll just leave it there and defer to whatever protocols are in place to ensure that, if those things are systemic. We went to a SIC meeting at Hilton Head, and there was quite passionate concerns about some of the maintenance items that had not been addressed. And I just want to raise that. So I'll back down and just defer to the leadership as to where it's properly placed.
Okay, thank you, Carlton. All right, so next we have the public comments and then the committee reports. And I think we're going to have academics and hopefully legislative, right?
No, I'm gonna put legislative as a placeholder, so we're trying to
Okay.
perhaps have one this week.
And those are the only committee meetings before the 7th?
Yes.
Potentially the only, yes. Okay.
Ingrid's hands up.
All right, Ingrid, thank you.
Thank you. It just something struck me when we were talking, when Mr. Dallas was talking about that we wouldn't get involved because we might end up in a judge. I can't remember exactly the words, you know what I'm saying, but we just had that whole employee grievance process. When would, we were told pretty clearly that the only time we would review a termination would be the superintendent. So when would we be in a position? Because I do think that this letter in particular, to Mr. Dallas's point, raised some pretty specific concerns. So I wasn't thinking about that, but when would we actually get involved? Would someone have to bring a suit against the district for us to get involved?
Or I would, go ahead, Alice, you answer.
Yes, and that's only for certified staff. And that has to deal with their contract. So it would have to be a suit for a wrongful termination or a termination that they not necessarily agree with. In terms of someone bringing a complaint like this to the superintendent, then he handles that and takes it to the board if there are any concerns for you to deal with.
So I think I'm fine with that process. I just don't think that saying we shouldn't get involved because we might at some point have to sit and judge. It's different if there's a lawsuit, which is not then we don't get to judge anything, right? That's not really a reason not to look at this. I think maybe the reason is because it's not part of our process, but we might get some letters that have some, if they raise real specific concerns to Mr. Dallas's point and we don't address them, I do think that there's an issue of liability that we should at least consider in the broader context.
I'm not necessarily saying you should not get involved. You only get involved if it is a certified staff that you're recommending termination for, or the superintendent is recommending termination. Letters like this, yes, you can be concerned about it. Superintendent will handle it and bring it back to you if necessary for you to do something with it. But you're not in judgment for anything like this.
I've just, now that I'm a little bit clearer, how would we sort of call the superintendent to update us? Because again, my concern are, just in my personal engagement, I've heard some things about response being lacking on some health issues in terms of maintenance. And then I saw the letter. And so as a member of the board, I'm just asking, how does that come back before us and say it has been reviewed and here's the outcome that comes directly from the superintendent? I'm not asking to be involved in the mechanics of it. I'm just asking from an
I can respond to that, Carlton. So when we get the personnel ratification report in executive session,
Okay.
the employee will have to be listed as resigned. Now, if it happens this month, it won't come to us, to the next month. So at that time, questions about the concerns raised could be addressed to human resources and to the superintendent.
Okay.
So that would be an easy way to do it.
Okay. And what about the passion with which our SIC raised the maintenance issues? Would that also be like a maintenance report that we would sort of preview?
So our job as board members is to bring forth any complaints that we have from constituents to the
Right.
superintendent that are really operational issues. And sounds like the SIC concerns were operational issues. So my advice right now would be to contact Dr. Rodriguez and have a discussion with him, so then he can take the appropriate action necessary.
Okay. Hypothetically, if that has been done, would it then be discussed by the board? I'm just trying to find out.
Not normally. Not normally. Unless, there's a question about, I guess you'd say if there was question about follow through or the superintendent and his how should I say, roles and responsibilities as a superintendent, and then that would have to be discussed in executive session.
Okay.
Okay.
Earl's hands up.
Do you want to add anything first before we go on, Wendy or Alice, to what I
yes.
just said?
Yes, just briefly, I wanted to follow up on what Ms. Walton said. And under your governance policies, it's GC 224 teacher dismissal hearing process. The board does have policies and procedures in place. So there would be a hearing officer that would hear the evidentiary hearing. And in your policies under Roman numeral 4 on page 16, the board has final authority, final decision-making authority regarding teacher dismissal or suspension based on its consideration of the record, report, recommendations, and any submissions. So as Ms. Walton said, you do have the final authority. That's when you'd be acting, as the judge in the event there was a teacher dismissal hearing and the person that was dismissed wanted to appeal it to you. So
Okay, so
you have that authority. Board's decision, determines if the evidence presented shows good and just cause for the recommended dismissal from employment, and accordingly shall render decision to affirm or withdraw the notice for recommended dismissal or suspension.
yeah, if just for clarity,
Yes, sir.
I'm not really I'm not challenging the resignation of the individual at all. My experience is if something is viewed as systemic, then the highest ranking authority in the organization becomes culpable if we don't address it. And really all I'm asking is where would that point where the systemic issues that were raised in the termination or resignation letter,
Mhm.
or the systemic issues that were raised in a public forum at a SIC meeting, how would those come before the board? So again, I'm deferring to whatever the protocols are, just trying to understand where we would have that point of adjudication, that's all.
Yeah, yes, sir. And I haven't seen that letter, but you know, the board can bring a topic forward if there's an issue. You know, if there's an issue that has to do with safety or security, or there's an issue, a health or safety issue, then that would be something that we would be able to discuss with you, you know. We need to address those issues, and if you need legal advice in executive session, because we're under duty to keep our schools and our staff and keep everybody safe. So, and Ms. Wong, can you think of anything else that needs to be said, ma'am?
Yes, I could say, anytime the board wants Dr. Rodriguez to do, like this letter, if you want him to bring back information after he has researched and come to some kind of conclusion, and he's come to us often as a senior staff to say, we need to get back to the board with this. We need to make a report on that. That is not something that's out of the ordinary. Anytime could ask him to bring back a report on any subject that you need to know more information about. And then we as a senior staff get that information together for him, or either make the report for him to you.
All right. So we can't hear you, Carlton.
I'm sorry, I hit mute.
Thank you.
So as a newbie, I'm just asking for guidance here.
Yeah.
So that I adhere to the protocols. Where would that request that the systemic issues that were in the letter from the person who was resigning, and I don't know anything about the person other than what I read, that when would that be interjected into the schedule, and would it be an executive session? Because we would want to certainly give the superintendent time to review it and, you know, investigate and be able to actually come back to us. I'm just trying to figure that out. That's all. Does that make sense?
Yes, I would just suggest that you, if you have not already, bring your concerns forward with him, and then he could determine, you know, how long it will take or whatever, and we can have it on the executive session as a update, or that's probably the best way. Now, I don't know if it's going to be ready for, you know, a week from now. I'm happy to speak with him too about it. And
I spoke with him pretty
Okay.
quickly, and you know, I was trying to keep from saying that because I just wanted to. I didn't know when the proper time to interject.
Right.
That's all. Okay. So I can follow up with him and say this is something that they're just in terms of public perceptions. If that type of thing is being said in the community, it undermines all the great efforts that are being done. And just to, you know, be able to say, should we be, if we're questioned, this came up, it has been investigated and adjudicated, and you know, everything's in order. That's actually the outcome I'm seeking.
that sounds good. All right. So let's see, Earl, you have your hand up. And you're muted, Earl. Thank you.
Yes, I would, if anything that comes up with the meeting, with the School Improvement Council or PTO, usually what I do, I would first find out, was there a work order put in to deal with that issue? And because a lot of times you find that you will hear something and then there was never a work order put in. But if a work order was put in, then somebody needs to address it.
Okay.
That's what I would say. And as far as the lady that's resigning, for me, I understand that she mentioned something about mental issues.
Hey, Earl, we got to be careful.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
okay.
But
All
I
right.
think we need to leave it up to the superintendent. let him deal with it. I don't think we should get involved in that.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right, so we kind of got a little sidetracked, but I purposely let the discussion go because it's exactly a question of, what's the process and where would it be on this agenda, et cetera. So continuing on, we're to the superintendent's report. So I'll let Alice address these items.
Superintendent, well, before we get to his report,
Okay.
he has a block update here for the meeting,
Oh, I forgot to put that on there. Okay,
and he'd like to have it as early as possible.
I'll put it before the committee. I'll put it before the committee meeting.
Okay,
What kind of updates?
The
Well,
clock update. It's time.
Oh,
for the
okay,
clock up-
sure, yeah. Sounds good.
Okay.
and then under the superintendent's report, he has one item, and that is the new state designations for the schools in the district. And right now, they're still embargoed, they're under embargo, so even though he knows we can't make it public, but by this meeting, I think they should be public. And I believe he mentioned that he spoke to most of you about that report coming out.
So it's really more of ratings, state ratings of our public schools?
These are the designations of schools. What school has SPED designation,
Oh, okay, okay,
or multi-language designations. So these are designations that's coming down from the school. Before we
Okay.
only had 2 schools, now we have more schools. So this
Alright.
is what he wants to discuss with the board.
okay.
And that's all for the superintendent report, but he'd like, under the board business, to bring up the book appeals. Again, the second one.
Yeah. And we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 books, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah.
9 books, okay. So this will be
This, it
similar to,
encompasses both of the 2 people. There are 2 people who were appealed, so I added both of their appeals on there.
okay, yeah,
Because one only had 7 and the other person had more. So this is
Okay.
a combination of both.
all righty. How about Angela or Dick, anything else we need on board business?
Not that I know of.
I could think of.
Okay. Under our consent agenda, we'll have some meeting minutes. January 17th and the 27th. And then we have our future agenda topics, announcements, second public comments and adjournment. So Robin, I think you've got to fix the bottom here too.
I have to correct
Yeah.
that to wherever it's going to be.
Yeah. Um,
Now, on the county, which I have to get the wording, that you'll still be able to, they'll be able to go back and see our meetings on their website, but they won't see them live.
So I think we better put this on there. So effective, you can say February 1, right?
Yes,
2023. The county channel will just have recordings of the. You and I can talk
Yeah.
tomorrow and figure out the wording if everybody's okay with that, so we don't waste everyone's time. But I just think the public needs to know that those are going to be, there's going to be,
Change. Mhm.
yeah, or there's going to be how should I say, a library for the meetings where they can access them and also live on YouTube. Yeah. So did we have chair report? I don't remember.
No, do you
Okay, so
have a
let's add
chair
that.
report? Do you?
Yeah.
what- Okay,
Usually after clock, why don't you make it so they can? And I can give an update on the my meeting with the county council school board liaison. All right, anything else on this agenda? Anybody? We'll fix the wording there at the end.
You say you're not going to be able to attend?
Correct. Most likely I won't be able to because I'm gonna be out of town.
So are you gonna give a up? How are you
Oh,
going?
yeah,
to-
that's right. Thanks.
How are you
Dave.
gonna-
That's good.
So do you-
Kind of stating the obvious, right? Oh, Lord.
So
Then
do
we
you
will
want me
take
to
that
keep it?
off. Sorry. Do you have anything you'll want to update, Dick?
No.
No? Okay, so we just leave that off. Thank you. All right, so that finishes this agenda. Do we have any other agenda before the next agenda setting for the next business meeting? I don't think so, right?
Nope.
So let's,
Ingrid's
oh,
hands
Ingrid,
up.
go ahead.
Robin, you are good, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Barely went up. So I'm sorry, I was kind of waiting because usually we go to the outstanding agenda items list. So when you said.
Oh,
done with
yeah.
the agenda-
Okay.
I'm ready to move to that.
Yeah, oh, you are gonna do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wasn't sure, because one thing I am just, and I don't know how to say this, but I feel like it is February. We have a referendum sketched out for November. And we haven't talked about the budget. We haven't gotten the CIP or the facilities master plan. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, shouldn't we, this seems like a really light agenda. And I feel like there's all these things out there that we should at least be starting to talk about. I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up because I was looking at some other school board agendas for the live streaming to see how they did it. And so I ended up looking at a lot of board meetings from the end of January. They're all doing budget workshops. And I just don't know. I feel like we're behind, but so is there any way we could put something on there to just like give us a timeline or kind of where we're at for both the budget and the referendum?
So Robin, you and I had this discussion earlier today. For when the, like we're gonna have Brian Nurick from Compass. And
Oh,
I've forgotten the
That's
date.
in March. That's in March for
Okay.
a March work session. Currently, right now, I do know that they have out on our website for employees and communities and stuff, that they're asking for a survey about the budget. So that's currently going on right now. So I'm sure that Tanya will bring you an update after, because the finance committee the finance committee is meeting next week. So then you would get information after that finance committee meeting, which will probably be at the next board meeting, because that's what they usually do.
So Dick wanted to add to that.
Yeah, the reason some districts get into the budget process earlier is because they have the freedom to establish their budget before they go out and recruit teachers. We, right now, have to wait until the county council approves our budget in June. So that's one of the reasons why we don't start earlier, because we can't do anything and formalize anything until we have the county council's approval, which is one of the reasons why we are asking for autonomy.
Mhm.
So that could be why
that's-
could be why you see other people get started earlier.
And I get that, but at the same time, I mean, maybe I'm alone, but I just feel like there's some really big things coming up. And here we are in February and we don't have any of those things on the agenda. I don't know why, even though we can't get our budget approved till county council, because what I have found oftentimes is it gets real quiet for a little while. And then all of a sudden there's just a huge amount. We have these huge meetings, and these big ticket items. And given that, I was looking at the timeline for the referendum from the last one, like when we're supposed to have all this done. And just the way I operate, it was making me feel a little panicky. Like, why aren't we having, by now we should at least have the facilities master plan. We don't, I'm perplexed as to why I feel like we've just been kind of coasting along, dealing with the book thing since, October.
So
Understand.
I don't know if, can one of the senior staff address that CIP booklet that we usually get in December? We don't have it yet. The hard copy of it. Do either of you have an answer to that?
I could check with Robert and see what the status is. Seems like it would be published
Okay.
by now.
Yeah. In terms of the, planning future meetings regarding the referendum, the Project Review Committee 2.0 has not finished their work, although they're getting towards the finish line. And I was reviewing too, Ingrid, last for the referendum in 2019. It was in April that Dr. Berg brought forward the very extensive list of projects, and it wasn't until May that the board voted which, what exactly would be included on the ballot.
Well,
And there is some time constraint, but that allows, them to finish their work, the committee, and that still will allow us enough time to have a
that's what my panic is.
well-constructed referendum.
That's kind of my little panic situation a little bit, because think about April, May, when we're having the budget, what do we call it? The public forums in April, right? Isn't that what we?
There's
proved on the
3 of
calendar?
them, and I don't know them off the top of my head, honestly, but they're in the
Nick's nodding.
spring.
So I'm going to go with Colonel Guy on this. So we have the budget, the public forums, we're going to have the referendum, we're going to have, all these things. And I'm like, man, we're not doing a whole lot right now. Is there some stuff that we could kind of do in preparation so that in April, May graduation, that we're not like, at board meetings till midnight, 3 nights a week in April, May, and going into June? I just feel like, anyways, I'll leave that there, but I do
Okay.
feel like, could we talk to the superintendent about what could we be doing now to knock a few of these things out, set a few
Mhm.
things up, so we're not, in a panic mode on April, May, because
Yeah.
that is a busy spring.
Mm-hmm. Concur. So let's go back to your the outstanding items, Robin. So we already determined the 4x4 schedule at the high school. We already just,
That's gonna be at the modified when we talk about year round, whenever. that-
right, and so it's not
Yep.
gonna be, it can't be right now. I mean, that's
Right.
gotta be
That's why we don't have any, yeah.
postponed, or I don't know what you want to say. A list of everyone receiving a check from Beaufort County School District. I don't think that needs to be on a business agenda for the board. That could, maybe somebody could provide that information to the board, but I don't think most of the, I don't think they'll be.
That's
I
a
don't know.
simple, they can run a list.
Yeah,
from
and some
Mr. Smith
information. That's
From
really,
Munis procurement, accounts payable, and he can get the list of the 4,000, 5,000 names that's in procurement of
Yeah.
receives a check.
and then is there a second page to this anymore or no?
Nope, that's it.
Oh, okay. And then the communication with communities, I think that's going to be definitely something that will need to be discussed as we discuss the referendum, because obviously we need good interaction with the community. Since Carlson, that was your topic, did you have anything else to add to that?
Yes, ma'am, if I may.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. One of the things that we certainly I learned doing the community career event is that the communities are actually hungry for understanding what goes on within the school walls. So today I spent time going over the student course handbook. And so they have these prerequisites and course mapping, and it goes until the 8th grade. So it saves what you have to take in the 8th grade to take the highest level course in the 12th. And that's something that I think if we could communicate that progression so that parents and families knew they need to get involved in middle school so that our kids are not coming into high school woefully behind because they didn't choose the most challenging and preparatory courses, and then they're frustrated. And so with all the jobs that are coming in, and we attended the Converge Summit today, and it is just absolutely amazing how many, it's more than $1 billion, it's $1.5 billion that come into the state, the eastern part of South Carolina over the last year.
Wow.
And those companies bring jobs, and too frequently, those arriving companies have to bring people from their place of origin. And our people are saying the only jobs they have are tourism or hospitality. And that's not the truth. So that's where the communication with the communities comes from. And I think one of the things that Ms. Gilbert did so skillfully in the CCE is preparing communication pieces with Dr. Bruder that actually reach deeply into the community using, novel connections, churches, fraternities and sororities, those types of things. So that's where it comes in. I think if we do that, if we start early having that conversation, maybe it can be imbued in the culture. And then we become more and more comfortable with communicating more broadly to residents and voters before the referendum.
Mhm.
So that's what it is, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the additional information. All right, I think that we now need to, that concludes the agenda setting for the February 1 meeting. And so now we would need to set the date for the next agenda setting. I think it'll be the 13th.
It would be the 13th for the 21st.
Yep. Is the 13th good for Dick and Angela?
Yes.
Okay,